What if the man you fear the most on a tennis court is also the man who made you great? Right now, as the clay season rolls toward Barcelona, that question is exactly what everyone in tennis is asking about Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, because Alcaraz just said something that nobody expected. He didn't talk about trophies. He didn't talk about rankings. He talked about fear, respect, and gratitude, all wrapped into one confession about the man who has become his biggest rival, and maybe his biggest reason to keep improving. Stick with me, because by the end of this video you'll understand why this rivalry isn't just about who wins Barcelona 2026. It's about something far deeper that's changing both of these players forever. Let's rewind for a second. For the last 2 years, men's tennis hasn't really belonged to anyone except 2 players, Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. Since September 2023, no other man has won a Grand Slam. Think about that for a moment. Every single major title, again and again, going back and forth between just these 2 names. 9 Grand Slams in a row shared only between them. That's not a rivalry anymore. That's a monopoly on greatness. But here's the twist most fans don't think about. What does it actually feel like to be trapped in that kind of duel, year after year, knowing that every time you step onto a court, the other guy is right there, breathing down your neck, one mistake away from taking everything from you? That's the question Alcaraz was finally asked directly, and his answer was raw. Speaking after winning the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year award in Madrid, Alcaraz opened up to Italian outlet La Gazzetta dello Sport about what Sinner truly means to him. And instead of the usual polite diplomatic athlete answer, he gave something that felt almost vulnerable. He admitted that having Sinner on tour, having him as a target in every single training session, is what pushes him to chase every small detail he needs to fix. He said Sinner has made him a much better player, not despite the pressure, but because of it. And then came the line that's now spreading everywhere. He said he's grateful Sinner is on tour because his rival pushes him to give 100% every single day. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't a man complaining about a rival stealing his spotlight. This is a champion admitting that fear and respect together are the fuel behind his greatness. So here's a question worth sitting with. Would Alcaraz even be the player he is today without Sinner constantly on his heels? Would Sinner be pushing himself to such extremes without Alcaraz's explosive, fearless game staring back at him from the other side of the net? It's a strange kind of partnership, isn't it? 2 men who want nothing more than to beat each other, yet who are quietly making each other better with every single match. And this isn't just words. Look at the results. In 2025, Sinner finished with 58 wins and only 6 losses across the entire season, plus a title defense at the Australian Open and a landmark triumph at Wimbledon, all while missing 3 months due to a doping ban that would have crushed a lesser competitor. Alcaraz, meanwhile, was just as dominant, closing the year with 71 wins against only 9 losses and lifting both the French Open and the US Open trophies. 2 players, both operating at a level that should be historically rare, doing it at the exact same time, in the exact same era. That's not luck. That's rivalry as rocket fuel. And it hasn't stopped in 2026 either. These 2 kicked off the season together in South Korea, playing an exhibition match nicknamed by fans as Alcaraz, where the mutual respect was obvious even before a ball was struck. Alcaraz publicly wished Sinner nothing but the best for the year ahead, and Sinner responded by saying he couldn't imagine a better way to start the season than facing Carlos. Warm words, yes, but don't let that fool you into thinking this is soft. Just months later, at the Monte Carlo Masters, Sinner took the title in a tense 3-set battle, dethroning Alcaraz from the world #1 ranking in the process. And when reporters asked Alcaraz afterward whether Sinner had simply beaten him from the baseline, Alcaraz didn't make excuses. He agreed instantly and completely, admitting Sinner had been the better player in that exact area, on that exact day. That kind of honesty, right after a painful loss, tells you everything about how much respect exists between these 2, and how dangerous that respect can be for the rest of the tour. Because when your biggest rival openly praises you, admits you're pushing him to new limits, and still comes back stronger every single time, that's not a friendship that softens competition. That's a friendship that sharpens it into something almost frightening for everyone else trying to break into the picture. So now, as Barcelona 2026 approaches, the tennis world is holding its breath again. Every match these two play against each other now carries the weight of that confession. Every point matters more, because we know what's really at stake isn't just ranking points or trophies. It's this ongoing, almost obsessive quest to prove who can give more, who can dig deeper, who can refuse to let the other one settle. Will Sinner extend his dominance on clay and prove Monte Carlo wasn't a one-off? Or will Alcaraz use exactly the motivation he just described, that hunger Sinner gives him, to strike back on the surface where he's already a two-time Roland Garros champion? Nobody knows yet, but one thing is certain. This rivalry has stopped being a simple sports storyline and turned into something closer to a psychological chess match, where each man is quietly using the other as the mirror that shows him exactly what he still needs to fix. And that's the real story here, isn't it? Not who wins Barcelona, not who ends the year as world number one, but the idea that true greatness rarely comes from comfort. It comes from having someone who refuses to let you rest, who forces you to look at your own weaknesses and confront them head-on, over and over, match after match, season after season. Alcaraz just confirmed publicly what many suspected privately. Sinner isn't his enemy. Sinner is his mirror. And maybe that's the real secret behind two of the greatest seasons in modern tennis history happening at exactly the same time. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think this kind of rivalry makes both players better forever, or does it eventually burn one of them out? Drop your prediction in the comments before Barcelona 2026 kicks off, because I promise you this storyline is about to get even more intense. And if you don't want to miss how this rivalry unfolds on the clay, hit subscribe right now, turn on notifications, and share this video with a fellow tennis fan who still doesn't believe Alcaraz is the greatest rivalry we've seen in years. But before you go, let me give you one more piece of this puzzle, because the numbers behind this rivalry are almost as dramatic as the confession itself. Right now, Alcaraz holds the overall head-to-head lead, 10 wins to 7. But zoom into the surfaces and the story gets even more interesting. On outdoor hard courts, Alcaraz is clearly ahead. On clay, the surface Barcelona is played on, Alcaraz also holds the edge. But on grass, it's Sinner who is unbeaten against him. Perfect so far. Not a single loss. That means every single time these two step onto a different surface, the pressure resets, the fear resets, the whole psychological battle starts over again. And if you think the scoreline tells the full story, think again. By the end of last season, these two had won almost the exact same number of total points against each other across every match they've ever played. Practically even. Practically identical. Two players so closely matched that a handful of points across dozens of hours of tennis is the only thing separating them. Now picture the moment that really cemented this rivalry as something historic. The 2025 French Open final. This wasn't just another match. It was the longest final in the history of the tournament. 5 hours and 29 minutes of pure tennis warfare on court Philippe Chatrier. Sinner came in undefeated in every major final he had ever played. Alcaraz came in undefeated in every major final too. Something had to give. Sinner raced ahead 2 sets to love. He had championship points. 3 of them. Alcaraz was 1 single point away from losing the biggest match of the year, and somehow, from somewhere, he found a way to save all 3. Then he clawed his way back, set by set, until the match reached a 5th and final set decider in front of a stunned crowd that could not believe what they were witnessing. Alcaraz eventually closed it out, becoming only the 3rd man in the entire Open era to win a Grand Slam final after facing championship points against him. Do you understand how rare that is? Legends have played decades of tennis and never experienced anything like that. And it happened because Sinner was standing on the other side of the net, refusing to let him breathe for even a single point. That's the same rivalry Alcaraz was talking about when he confessed that Sinner pushes him to give everything he has, every single day, because he has lived through exactly what happens when he doesn't. Now fast forward to 2026. Sinner didn't sit quietly after that heartbreak. He came back, and at the Monte Carlo Masters, he beat Alcaraz in straight sets, reclaiming the world #1 ranking in the process, proving that this rivalry has no final chapter, only new ones being written every single season. So as Barcelona 2026 approaches, ask yourself this: is Alcaraz still haunted by that Monte Carlo defeat? Or has it become exactly the kind of fuel he described in his confession, the kind of fuel that turns pain into motivation? Will he use the comfort of clay, the surface where he already leads their rivalry, to send a message back to Sinner before Roland Garros arrives again? Or will Sinner prove that his current form is no fluke and that the balance of power in this rivalry has genuinely shifted? Nobody watching this video knows the answer yet, and that's exactly why this story is so addictive to follow. Every match from here forward isn't just a match. It's a chapter in a psychological duel between two men who have quietly admitted, in their own ways, that the other one is the reason they refuse to get comfortable. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think this kind of rivalry makes both players better forever, or does it eventually burn one of them out? Who do you think walks away from Barcelona 2026 with the momentum heading into the rest of the clay season? Drop your prediction in the comments below, because I promise you, this storyline is about to get even more intense, and I don't want you missing a single moment of it. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video breaking down exactly what happens next.